Hello, pup parents, and welcome to today's episode of the Perfect Pup Podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about something that is very important for the well being and behavior of your dog, and that is how to choose the right trainer if you're going to get an in person trainer, and additionally, how to choose the right training methods. So let's get right into it. There's some things in life that are very difficult to research and figure out or feel confident in your decision. And I feel like sometimes, unfortunately, picking a dog trainer falls into that realm where you feel like you search and you read some Google reviews and you read some things you heard on social media and you look at their website. And oftentimes it's kind of just a shot in the dark. Fortunately, there are a couple things that you can do to ensure that you pick the right dog trainer. Number one, for your dog's specific needs, but additionally, a dog trainer who follows science backed methods and who is going to do things that are going to help your dog and not potentially cause them more harm in the long run. So, here are two simple ideas or two simple ways that you can make sure that you are picking the right trainer for your dog. And this goes as well for content that you might consume online, whether it's on different websites or social media. These are some questions or things you can do to verify that you are getting information from a good dog trainer. So first things first is a method or methodology more so called LIMA, which is an acronym which stands for least intrusive, minimally aversive. So this is a surefire way to know that your trainer is choosing science-backed methods and is going to do things in the right order. I'll explain more about that, but in the right order for your dog and their well-being. So there are a lot of different schools of thought with how we train our dogs, different methods, those types of things. There's people who use e-collars. There's people who use only positive reinforcement. There's people who use, a combo of it or, X, Y, and Z different thing. Generally speaking, I really like to ask a trainer or at least get their opinion on LIMA to get an understanding of how they approach dog behavior and how they approach learning and helping your dog overcome their problem behaviors. So again, LIMA stands for least intrusive, minimally aversive. Essentially what this system or this hierarchy means is it's starting with the least, like it sounds or like it says, the least intrusive and the minimally aversive techniques first. So you can kind of think of it as a car. You're driving down the highway. You are looking for a solution. Let's say that it is leash walking. And you are on this highway and you see all these different exits. And the first exit is probably the easiest and the first thing that you should try. And then as you go further down the road, again, in theory, in this example, meaning more practice and more time and having gone through all the other first exits, you finally get to the end solution potentially. So those first few exits are kind of the first methods that LIMA tells us to try and it tells the training professionals to try, is just to make sure that a wellness check, make sure that your dog is healthy and okay, because lots of times if our dogs are sick or they have things that are bothering them, it can cause problem behaviors. Next after that is to do basically to get rid of the trigger, or to get rid of the stimulus. So if it's that your dog always barks at the other dog on the other side of the fence, it might be not taking your dog out by themselves, not allowing them to have the opportunity to bark at the fence at the other dog. You don't allow the situation to present itself. And then from there, you go into positive reinforcement, which is what we are large proponents of here at Pupford. And then after that, you would try basically replacement behaviors, which is saying, okay, I don't want you to bark. Instead of barking, I want you to learn to look at me, and then I'm going to reinforce that. So those are kind of the first steps of the LIMA methodology that is backed by science and you would want your dog trainer to be following. And then after that and after that only do you get into things like negative punishment, negative reinforcement, extinction, And then at the very, very last option is positive punishment. And you might be wondering, okay, what is positive punishment? The positive in that word just means adding something to your dog's environment, and punish means punishment, right? Something that is going to decrease the likelihood of them doing something in the future. So positive punishment would be every time your dog barks, you slap their nose really hard. That is positive punishment. You are adding in a slap, which is a new thing to your dog's environment, and that's what the positive means. And the punishment is just something to, in theory, decrease the likelihood of that occurring. So you've got things that would fall under positive punishment. You have things like hitting your dog. You have things like, a choke chain, tightening the chain. You have things like e-collars, a shock to your dog whenever they do something incorrect. You are adding in a shock as a punishment to hopefully decrease the likelihood. So the way that LIMA looks at this methodology and how you should train your dog and how you should go about it, and hopefully how these trainers that you're finding, is that those types of things, the aversiveness, the punishment, the positive punishment, adding punishment to your dog, those are last stitch efforts. And even according to the people who created LIMA and kind of the mindset behind it, in a lot of instances, that still might not even be warranted. And again, I think this comes back to looking at how we want. It's not just about how we want our dogs to feel and how we want them to be comfortable. It really comes back to there's research and studies behind these methods that show that things like positive punishment, they can lead to more aggression. They can lead to other problem behaviors. They can lead to stress and anxiety. It has been proven scientifically. And so really the idea behind LIMA is start with what is like I don't want to say the easiest, but start with what is the least intrusive and see if you can't find resolutions that way. This also doesn't mean that you should, or the trainer that you work with should, okay, let's try positive reinforcement for a session. Oh, they're not getting it. Let's go straight to positive punishment. It's not, okay, I've tried this once. Let me get all the way to positive punishment. It's taking the time and steps to really give each step of the LIMA hierarchy the time that it needs, for lack of a better word, because it doesn't happen overnight. So that's one way that you can help determine how your trainer is going to approach your dog, is asking them how they feel about LIMA, asking them how they feel about, that methodology. And if they follow it, what their beliefs about it are. Again, it's important, if you are entrusting your dog to a trainer who's someone who's going to be not only working with you, but working with your dog one-on-one, you want to make sure that they are doing things that are in line with your way of thinking and with things that you feel comfortable with. So that's the first way to really kind of determine what trainer you want to work with. And second, I think it's important to be upfront with people and ask them and just be straight up with them and say, do you use punishment? Do you use shock collars? Do you use e-collars? Do you use choke chains? Do you use, hitting your dog? There are a lot of trainers in the world, and a lot of them will use words that make it seem like they are working off of positive reinforcement. They'll use words like balanced, or they'll use words like, I've heard people say modern, or, they'll use words that are kind of vague and not very clear. And you know what? At the end of the day, as a brand, meaning Pupford, as well as myself individually, our stance is people are going to be able to make their own decisions. Trainers who want to train with aversives, that is their decision to make. But we believe that there is a better way, and a way that is backed by science, and a way that is going to help your dog much more in the long run, and not just stop bad behaviors, but rather teach your dog what you want them to do. So if you're on the fence about a trainer, or you're not sure, or, you can't really tell from their website, or just be straight up with them and ask them. If you want to use positive reinforcement as the main technique and you want to avoid those things, ask them up front. So those are two ways that you can choose a good trainer. The first is being asking them how they feel about Lima and if they follow that methodology. And second would just be straight up and ask them what their methods are and specifically how they feel about positive punishment. And if a trainer can't, two things. Number one, if a trainer can't give you an answer to like how they use their methodologies, if they're still vague, or if they want to talk to you about, well, I'll get you results. Like you have to be careful. Like this is just one pup parent speaking to, like looking out for another, meaning you, the listener, because I got put into a situation where this was pre Pupford. It was my first puppies. My wife and I just really didn't know any better. And we just looked online for puppy classes near me, which many of you have probably done, and kind of looked through their website, seemed good, had good reviews. And we get there and they forced us to put a slip collar, like a choke chain, on our not even 3-month-old puppy. And in hindsight, obviously that was a mistake, but we just didn't know any better. And so I make this episode because there have been situations for my dogs that because we went with those methods in the beginning, and again, we just didn't really know any different. We didn't know any better. It caused major problems for not both of my dogs, but specifically one. She still kind of is, but she was extremely reactive to other dogs for a long, long time. And looking back, it was because she is a little 3-month-old puppy trying to figure out life, doesn't understand really what's going on. And we would take her into a gymnasium. There's 20 other dogs with their parents. All the dogs are barking. She's a puppy. She's excited. She wants to play. She has this anticipation of like dogs are fun. And unfortunately, the way we were taught by these trainers was, well, if she doesn't listen, give a correction on the collar. And we didn't know any better. We didn't. We weren't aware. And by the time like we kind of realized what was happening, it was just, we felt uncomfortable about it, but we just didn't really know what to do. And now, because of that, she has reactivity towards dogs to this day, where because the association was made in her mind of when she sees other dogs, there's a correction, there's something negative, there's something that is painful to her. And in turn, you have a dog who, yeah, she may have gotten a little bit better on leash, but at what cost? And that's why I wanted to do this episode to help pup parents make an educated decision about the trainers that they're going to work with and about the methods that they're going to work with. I will include in the episode details information about Lima and where you can learn more about that. It's a really important topic that I think you should dive into a little bit more. We're actually, as part of Pupford Academy, going to be doing a video about the 4 quadrants of dog training and about Lima and going into more detail with the help of Tracy Madsen, who's one of the trainers that we work with. So I encourage you to check that out once that's available. It'll be available later this week, as this will be released on the 28th of April, and that will be coming out around May 1st. But I just want you to be able to make a better decision, make a more informed decision about the trainer you're going to work with. There are a lot of buzzwords out there. There are a lot of things that people will say to make you believe one way or the other, but those are the 2 things that I think are very, very important. Is number 1, asking them how they feel about Lima and if they follow the Lima methodology. And second is, if you're on the fence, ask them straight up if they use aversives and see what their response to is. If they have to start doing justifications or they have to kind of start sidestepping your question, I think you have your answer there. And again, everyone has the right to train how they want. Everyone has the right to choose trainers that they want. But my personal experience and what science has told us is that the aversive methods, the punishment-based methods, they can cause so much stress and problems in the long run and create negative associations, not only with you, between you and your dog, where your dog comes to fear you or have stress or anxiety around you, but it can also create that with whatever stimulus is causing them to react or to bark or to pull on their leash, meaning other dogs, other people. And that's where aggression can start. It has been proven time and time again. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope this is helpful. I hope that you feel you have a better grasp of how you can choose a trainer and, of course, how you can choose to train your own dog. Because at the end of the day, most trainers, they're training you to teach you how to teach your dog. So you are becoming the trainer. So I hope you can make decisions that are informed and feel confident in the trainers that you choose. For those of you who have left reviews, comments, subscribed, all of that, I am very, very grateful. And if you have time, for those of you who haven't, I would ask you personally to go leave us a review, specifically on Apple Podcasts. It's very helpful. But other than that, we will catch you on the next episode.